So tell me about the creative process from writing the songs to making them come alive to all that stuff. What does that look like for you guys?
You know, it's always different. Most of our songs are written out of personal experience. You know, it's kind of an outlet. Writing is always a selfish thing a lot of times because it's just like when you journal. You know, like a lot of people write journal entries, and that's a way of dealing with a lot of issues. And that's kind of how songwriting is for us. You know, we deal with a lot of life's issues, whether it's good or bad, and it's really an outlet. And, you know, a lot of times when you write, you don't even know what you're doing. And afterwards you're like, whoa, I have a song. And you just see how God works. I mean, sometimes I feel like nothing I'm writing is coming out good, you know. I feel like, gosh, I'm a terrible songwriter. And all of a sudden, I have a song that I feel really great about. Wow, you know, God really channeled it. So, you know, it's different every time. Sometimes the music comes first, sometimes the lyric comes first, sometimes it's simultaneous. It's always different.
So what do you think has been some of the inspiration? You said a lot you draw from life experience, but as far as your musicality or your genre, all that stuff, what have been some of the influences for you there?
Well, we were all big Beatles fans. That was one of the first things that brought us together, is that we all love the Beatles. You know, and then we have very different influences. Brad loves Elvis Costello. You know, I grew up listening to a lot of contemporary Christian music, Michael W. Smith, and that kind of thing. And then we really got into a lot of the grunge, like Nirvana and that type of stuff. When I was finally allowed to listen to secular music. And then Matt, you know, he grew up around a lot of gospel, Southern gospel. His dad sang in a Southern gospel quartet. Was around a lot of that. So, just very, very different. Mark was from Seattle, and so he actually used to be in a grunge band, and they practiced in the same place as Nirvana and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, and so he was around that whole early 90s grunge scene. That was a big influence in his genre.
What are some of the things that you do for your artistic life, to feed your artistic life, or practices that you have, if any, or is it just kind of what happens?
You know what? When I'm in the car, usually I'm listening to talk radio, or like NPR news or something. I love NPR. You know, I love listening to all the radio shows, This American Life, and Car Talk, and all those. In fact, I don't listen to a ton of music unless I'm really wanting, you know, something new. And you know, and then I have certain records that I will go back and pull out. But a lot of times I just like quietness. I'm around music so much. When we tour, you know, we hear bands every night. It's just really nice to have quiet. And so, or, you know, talk and stuff. But as far as what I do to be challenged musically and that type of thing, you know, I think it's important to always look for new music. You know, you always have the music that you love that has influenced you. But I find that when I hear new stuff that challenges me, it'll give me a spark of creativity. I'll think, oh, that's really cool, and it'll give me an idea that I didn't have before. And it'll challenge in that kind of way.
So how has your Christianity affected your art?
Well, you know, as a Christian, Christ called us to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. And, you know, I've read over that passage so many times and never really thought about how important it is to our Christian walk. But, I mean, think about what Christ was telling us. Salt, back in the time of Jesus, was used for two things. It was used to flavor food, you know, to make it taste better. Flavoring. It was also used as a preservative. They didn't have refrigeration, so a lot of times, you know, to keep meat from spoiling, they would pack salt on it, and that would keep it from going bad. And it's an amazing picture of how we're supposed to be in our culture, you know, flavoring and preserving it with Christ. And you know, I love the image of how we're called to be a light in the world. You know, there's so much darkness in the world. There's so much pain and suffering and hurting, and we're supposed to stand out and be different. And I mean, if you go into any dark room, even if it's a huge arena, you know, or stadium, if you light a little candle, even from the other side, you'll be able to see that it's just me. And the more that you spread that around, even in those Christmas services where you're lighting one candle, and all of a sudden the whole place is lit up. And that's how we're supposed to be, illuminating our culture. And so our art is influenced by our faith. because our faith is an integral part of it. You know, everything that we do is an expression of our faith. And because of that, we write about what's important to us. And by writing about those things, you know, we write about it from the perspective of somebody who's
naturally comes out.
yeah, and it's not to say
You
that
said
every
organic
song is
earlier
about
the music, but it's like that with your Christianity too.
absolutely. And it's not that every song is about Jesus or about even necessarily Christian subject matter. We write about everything. I mean, God's creation is so diverse, and you know, it would be kind of boring if an artist were to only paint pictures of the cross. You know, there's so much more beauty that also reflects God's majesty that you can pull on. And so, you know, we write about all different aspects of life, but it's all, you know, through the perspective of somebody. You know,
And how would you say, or would you say, I guess I should ask, that your art reflects your Christianity? Being an artist reflects your Christianity?
You know, I think as an artist, I don't know, you know, maybe, I've always been an artist, so I don't know what it's like to not be. So I don't know how it affects my faith. You know, I think that seeing music come from nowhere, like a song that never existed before, all of a sudden being there, I don't know, seeing that over and over again always reminds me of God's creativity, and how, you know, God is an infinite well of creativity. And, I mean, just looking at creation, they're always discovering new things that we didn't. I mean, just recently I was reading about some new bird that they discovered down in Indonesia. Yeah, that never thought existed before, and here they found this. You know, and I don't know. Anytime I see stuff like that, it just reminds me of how awesome God is. It's the same feeling when you create something. You know, it's not from you, but creating something that never existed before.